Benazir Mungloo, you're the author of this collection of poetry and prose, Scarred and Healed. I read on the back cover that it deals with diverse themes such as emotionally abusive relationships, life blunders, loss, mistaken love, and femininity. You are very young and still studying in Australia. Do you write from your own experience or from that of others?
I believe you can't write anything without experiencing things, without knowing things. So I believe this book was created based on an amalgamation of things that I've seen, experienced, and know about. So for instance, the theme of emotionally abusive relationships, it was formed mostly when I left the island for Australia. Because there, the first day that I entered my university, I was admitted there. So the first thing that they tell you about is that this university is combating suicide rates. So it becomes like almost essential that you go for a very short mental health course where they sensitize you about mental health and inculcate in you abilities to talk to people who are depressed. So after the course, I felt like I was equipped to talk to other people. So I decided to amalgamate that into my art. So I started sharing poetry about healing, about depression on my social media platform, which was Instagram at that time. And a lot of women, like by themselves willingly, they started feeling like very at ease to confide in me. It was very instantaneous, it was not intentional at that time. So then they were confiding in me a lot of controversial things, and one of those were emotionally abusive relationships, and that is where it came from. That's why it deals from, it talks about emotionally abusive relationship, it flicks from negativity to positivity, from abusive relationships to healing.
How about the form of your writings? I see that they are rather brief, from 2 lines to 1 page.
So this book, it's definitely the debut poetry book for me. So actually when I was writing this, I was still in search for my own style of writing. So I started with this form, which is basically known as micro poetry or spoken word poetry. So the basic 2-line poetry, for instance, I did that mostly to have an immediate effect, to like project an image, a message that was very direct and essential. And then the longer ones tend to have a more lamenting, more detailed tones about things that are very, very essential that people need to know.
You have contributed to this collection celebrating mothers, featuring the poems, quotes and thoughts of over 130 Instagram poets from across the globe.
Technically, we're in this era where we think that digital media is killing the need for people to read more. Instagram poetry took this issue to a new turn, where suddenly people are reading poetry because of Insta poetry. Insta poetry tends to be very direct and simple, and it's because on social media people have a very short span of attention that they direct to contents. So this book, so there are a lot of platforms like Buy Me Poetry. This book was published by Buy Me Poetry. They support and feature Insta poets who are either amateur or already professional in the field, because now we even have a lot of other Insta poets such as Rupi Kaur, who have won literary awards, like Goodreads awards in the poetry section for writing Insta poetry, and who's touring the world. So they feature and support other poets. So this book, they had posted an advertisement out there that they are on the lookout for poets who want to contribute to a book. And we have a theme that we need to respect, which was mothers. And this book was formed for a good cause. All the money from the sales, it was actually donated to an organization who were supporting women who found themselves in a disadvantaged position in Australia. So I thought it was a really good idea to contribute to that book, because I remember, well, there was one day I thought about how can I make a difference, and this was probably the way for me to make a difference in another person's life.
As you know, you cannot write if you do not read. So what are your favorite books and authors?
Actually, I tend to have a very specific liking for books or poets who are writing about things that are very similar to mine, because then they tend to inspire me to do the same or to be somewhat similar. So my favorite authors and books alongside are, for instance, if we talk about the classics, I'm very fond of Sylvia Plath, the book Ariel, for instance. And then I am also a big fan of Rupi Kaur. I've read both of her books. I really loved her books, like Sun and the Flowers and Milk and Honey. And at the same time, I absolutely love other poets such as Amanda Lovelace, The Witch Does Not Burn in this one, or Nikita Gale for writing Your Soul is a River. And yeah, other classics like, for instance, Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale. So yeah, because they technically inspire me to do the same, and they write about similar themes, so then I tend to spend a lot of time reading about the books that they've written. Words to her pen. As he broke her heart, he became words to her pen. As she ran out of words, he ran out of her heart too. Breaking ourselves. We break ourselves sometimes. We break us with our own hands. Knowing that something is going to hurt us and rip us down, we still choose to do it anyway. And it is all right to do so, because sometimes we need to break who we were to be the fierce and stronger person that we are going to be.